Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a single, really powerful moment in Natasha Trethewey's Pulitzer Prize-winning poetry collection, Native Guard. This collection is just incredible. It weaves together the poet's own personal story of grief with these forgotten histories of the American South. And one section, in particular, drops this profound puzzle right in our laps.
And this question, this idea of memory, power, and what it means to be a witness, well, that's really at the heart of the entire poem. So let's get into it.
Okay, so the poem is told through the eyes of this one guy. He's 33 years old, he was formerly enslaved, and now he's a soldier fighting for the Union in the Louisiana Native Guard during the Civil War.
Now, the thing about him is he can read and write, which back then was a rare and powerful skill. It's like a superpower, giving him the ability to write his own experience into history. But that power comes with this massive weight, a burden that gets really complicated because of the job they give him.
So what was the job? Well, the Native Guard's main task was to guard Confederate prisoners on Ship Island, which is a fort right off the coast of Mississippi.
I mean, just think about that for a second. The tension is just, wow. You have these black soldiers, now in Union blue, literally holding the keys to the cells of the very men who, just months before, could have been their masters. It's a shocking reversal, and the soldier really thinks about this in his journal.
You see how he just collapses the distance there? He sees this strange shared captivity. For the Confederates, their whole fight for quote-unquote freedom landed them in a jail cell. And for the Native Guard, their newfound freedom led to being drafted into the Army, which felt a lot like the same old forced labor.
And if you thought that was complicated, it gets even more layered. Because, get this, most of the Confederate prisoners can't read or write. So if they want to get a letter home to their families, guess who they have to ask for help? The black soldier guarding them.
So all of a sudden, he's in this totally wild position. He's not just a guard, he's a scribe, a keeper of secrets. He's the channel for the deepest, most personal thoughts of the very men who represent the system that oppressed him. Let's see how this all builds to this incredibly powerful moment in the poem.
Okay, so we're in the part of the poem dated March 1863. And this is where Trethewey just masterfully slams two completely different realities right up against each other, forcing the soldier to record them both.
You know, he's hearing them worry about really normal, everyday stuff. Things anyone would worry about. Their farms, their families, just survival. But all of this tenderness, these very human concerns, are happening inside the brutal, decaying hellscape of the prison camp.
And this is where you really feel that tension. He has to hold both of these truths in his mind at the same time. The intimate, personal world of the enemy and the horrific, impersonal reality of war, with its starvation, the crushing heat, and that constant smell of death.
Now, in literature, we call this juxtaposition. But Trethewey uses it to get at something really deep about memory and history. She's forcing us to sit with a really uncomfortable truth, that these soldiers who fought for an inhuman cause were still undeniably human, and our narrator has to witness it all and write it all down.
So why do this? Why make us see this? Well, it's about creating a record where one was completely erased. You see, the real Native Guards never got a physical monument for their service. So Trethewey builds one for them with words, what she calls a metaphoric monument, an archive of everything history tried to pave over.
And she has this incredible toolkit to build it. She uses polyphony, which means many voices, to let us hear the prisoner's actual words inside the soldier's journal. She uses this visceral sensory imagery to make us feel and smell the prison. And with juxtaposition, she forces us to see the full, complicated truth. Suddenly, the simple act of writing becomes an incredible act of power.
So what this all boils down to is this. The soldier isn't just a guard, and he's not just a scribe. He is a historical witness, and his job is to preserve this complex, painful, and deeply uncomfortable truth that the official history books would much rather forget. And Trethewey herself has talked about this idea of being a native guardian of memory. That's exactly what this soldier is doing. He's preserving not just his own story, but the whole messy story of his time, and that includes the humanity of his enemies. And that is the huge, provocative question the poem leaves us chewing on. By forcing him to listen, to record, to see the humanity in his oppressors, does it somehow erase his own pain? Or does it actually reveal the true, immense weight of telling the whole story? That is the burden
and the power of being the witness.